Hello everyone and welcome to this Discord.js tutorial. In this video, we're going to teach you guys how to create your own ticket system. This is going to be the first episode of this ticket system series, since it's a pretty big command and I will do my best to make it as feature rich as possible. One thing that we'll be doing is we'll be using databases, and the gbf commands by default supports MongoDB, so do go ahead and set up MongoDB and add your Mongo URI in the .env. So if you use the gbf handler in the .env file, let's just make it like a JSON just so you know what I'm talking about. So let's say imagine this is your .env. You want to have Mongo URI spelled like this, and your URI goes over here. Same thing for .env, just without these over here. Alright, so this is just going to be how to set up your MongoDB database. Once you set it up, let's go ahead and start creating it. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to create the models. So the models is what's going to be inside of the database, the Mongo thing. So I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to call it models. Inside of this folder, I'm going to create another subfolder. I'm going to call it tickets. And inside of this tickets folder, I'm going to create a server. So let's go over here and create a new file. I'm going to call it server ticket settings schema.js. Of course, you can call this whatever you want. Now I'm going to go ahead and import schema and model from Mongoose. So I'm going to say const curly brackets going to equal to require Mongoose. And then inside of here, I'm going to add schema and I'm going to add model. All right. So let's go ahead and create our schema. So I'm going to say const ticket, or let's just say const server ticket schema is going to be equal to a new schema, where this is going to contain the guild ID, which is going to have a type of string, a tickets channel, which is going to have a type of string, and a mentioned role, which is going to have a type of string, a default message, which is going to have a type of string, send embed, which is going to have a type of boolean, and an embed color, which is going to have a type of string. I might actually remove embed color just for the sake of the simplicity right now, but as you can see, you can add as many options as you want. This is just the bare minimum system, so it takes in a tickets channel. This way, if the user does go into Discord, if you go into Discord here, you can see that this is the tickets channel. This is where all the tickets are going to be located. And as you can see, this is like a tickets channel over here, where the moderator is going to be pinged and such. This way, we don't create too many channels and just flood the server. So this is definitely recommended. Of course, if you want to have it as channel, you can go ahead and do so. But this tutorial is going to show you how to do it using threads. Of course, later on in the series, we're going to add more options on how to create it, but this is, again, just an introduction to it. So another thing I'm going to create is going to create the model. So I'm going to create the server. So I'm going to say const server ticket model, which is just going to be equal to model, and it's going to say the server ticket docs. And I'm going to add the server ticket schema. To remove, to stop Mongo from adding an S to the suffix, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go over here. And I'm going to name this as collection. I'm going to say server ticket docs. And of course, you can add the other options if you please. So this is just an option that I added. So Mongo does not add its versions, the S at the end. So it's not docs with two S's, just one doc. And then I'm going to go ahead and export this. So I'm going to say module.export is going to be equal to curly brackets. I'm going to say server ticket model. And let's just format this and let's exit out of here. The other thing we're going to create is I'm going to create a user ticket settings schema.js. And this is going to be very similar to the server one, but this is one is going to be for users. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this import statement over here and just add it over here. And the same steps, I'm going to say const user ticket schema is going to be equal to a new schema, which is going to contain the user's ID. So user ID, which is going to have type of string, the thread ID, which is going to have a type of string, and the ticket ID, which is going to have a type of string. Now we can go ahead and do the same thing for the collection. So I'm going to say collection, and I'm going to name this the user ticket docs. And now let's go ahead and create our model. So I'm going to say user ticket model, which is going to be equal to a model, which is going to take the name of user ticket docs and the user ticket schema as the schema. And now I'm going to go ahead and module.export this. Module.export is going to be equal to the user ticket model. Of course, if you want to add more options, you can go ahead and add more options. It's all up to you. But now I'm going to close out of here and let's go into the commands area over here. And I'm going to go ahead and create a new command, which is going to be called the ticket commands.js. And I'm going to go ahead and go into the templates, and I'm going to copy the subcommand template. You can go ahead and find this template over in the docs. You want to go ahead and just remove these options and such, since we won't really need them. I'm going to rename the class to the ticket commands. For the name, I'm going to name this ticket. The description, people won't really see the description, so I'm just going to add ticket related commands. It won't need either user or bot permissions. For the category, I'm going to name this ticket. For the cooldown, it should be at least 5 minutes. So that's 5 times 60 times 60. Just times 60, 160, which is 300. But of course, I don't really want to go ahead and wait 5 minutes between each test. So I'm going to add dev bypass as true. This way, bot developers can bypass the 5 minutes cooldown. The other thing we're going to add is going to add DM enable as false. This way, the command cannot be used in DMs. Of course, if there are other options that you see fit, you can go ahead and add those options. But as of right now, I won't really add it. So for the subcommands, for the subcommand name, I'm going to name this first one as open. For the description, I'm going to say open a new ticket. For the options, the first option is going to be the topic of the ticket. So the topic of the new ticket. This way, the people who are helping and such, and they will see the ticket, have an idea about what the ticket is about before actually opening it. It's going to have a type of string, and it's going to have a min length of 2. Of course, you can customize this as much as you want. It's completely up to you. And I'm going to make required as true. So now let's go ahead and go into the command execute itself. We're going to go ahead and check for the data, which we just created. But of course, as of right now, we don't really have a method of creating it. So let's go ahead and just create a new command. This command is going to be called the setup command. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to say setup. It's going to have a description of set up the ticket system for this server. And it's going to have some options. So I'm going to say subcommand options. The first option it's going to have the name of the channel. This is going to be the default tickets channel. Of course, you can customize as much as you want. Description, I'm going to say the channel where all tickets are opened. And then I'm going to have the type as application command option type dot channel. And you can add the channel types over here. And I'm going to add this just as an array of channel types dot guild text. And of course, you can add as many channel types as you want, but you really just want to have it as channels that are like text channels, which is just channel.text. Exactly just what I'm doing. Anyways. Alright, so now once we have specified this, I'm going to go ahead and make this as true. So I'm going to say required as true. And now let's go ahead and just copy this, and so we can paste it multiple times. So I'm gonna add for role, the message and the embed. So I'm gonna say role. So I'm gonna say the role that gets mentioned whenever a ticket is opened. And I'm gonna make this as role. And of course, if you do want to go ahead and add this as required or not, it's completely up to you. I'm simply gonna have this, but I don't recommend that you have this as a required option. So now for the channel, for the third option, which is going to be the message. So I'm gonna say the default message that is sent whenever a ticket is opened. This way, whenever a user opens a ticket, it's gonna go ahead and send this channel, send this message. So now for the type, I'm gonna have this as string, required is true, and the max length. So max length is gonna be 1024 characters. Of course, you can customize this as much as you want, but you can't really go over the Discord limit. The last option is going to be embed. So embed. This is going to be whether to set the embed, so whether to set the message inside of an embed or not. Of course, this is going to have a type of Boolean, and it's going to be required. Of course, again, you can make this as many options as you want. Let's go ahead and create our execute method. So the execute method is going to contain the client and their interaction. And now let's go ahead and start the implementation. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to check the guild data. If it does exist, we're going to go ahead and return a message. So I'm going to say let guild data is going to be equal to server ticket model, which I think we might need to import. So let's go ahead and import that quickly. So I'm going to say const curly brackets is going to be equal to require the models folder. I'm going to go to tickets and the server one. So go ahead and copy this and do the same for the user. So I'm going to go here and say user. And now inside of over here, I'm going to go ahead and just import the model that we did go ahead and export. Or the models. So let's go ahead and just check this, fix the settings. There's a spelling issue over here. Yep, there it is. So server settings, schema. Now, let's go ahead and click yes here, and there we go. So now we have imported this. I'm going to say server ticket model.find1. And I'm going to look for the guild ID with the interaction.guild ID. And then I'm going to look for the tickets channel. So let's go ahead and just get the options that the user specified. So I'm going to say const tickets channel is going to be equal to interaction.options.get channel. And I'm going to add the channel over here. Just go ahead and copy this and paste it 3 more times. The first one will be the mentioned role. The second one will be the default message. The other one will be send embed, where this is going to have the role, this is going to have the message, and this is going to have the embed. Let's just make sure that these match. So yeah, they match. So let's go ahead and check if the guild data does exist. I'm going to say if not guild data. What I'm going to do is it's going to be pretty simple. I'm going to say guild data is going to be equal to new server ticket model, where I'm going to say the guild ID is going to be equal to the interaction.guild ID. Since this is going to be new data, since if not guild data, it just means that the data does not exist. Tickets channel, which is just going to be the tickets channel.id. The mentioned role is going to be the mentioned role.id. And the default message is going to be equal to the default message. And let's just ensure that the spelling is correct. Yeah, it is correct. Now for send embed, I'm simply going to make this as send embed. Why did I say .ids? Because these take in a string, they don't take in an object. So we're kind of forced to add in the ID instead of the mentioned role itself. So now once you've done that, you can go ahead and save this. I'm going to say await guildedata.save. And then I'm going to go ahead and return interaction.reply. And I'm going to say success. So I'm going to say content success. Of course, you can customize the error message or the message itself as to your liking. So I'm going to go ahead and say else to this if statement, and let's go ahead and create or update the data. So I'm going to say await guildedata.update1. Guildedata. If I can write guildedata.update1. And let's go ahead and just copy these settings over here without the guild ID. And of course, it's definitely recommended that you don't have all of these as required. But if they're not required, you will have to specify default values. These default values will be the guilded data, tickets channel, etc., and so on. This way, so you don't delete it if the user does want to only update one thing. So let's just change embed as non-required. So now send embed is not required. So we can go ahead and just do 2 question marks over here. I'm going to say guild data dot send embed. This way, whatever value was previously recorded is going to be the value that's going to be added here. And if this is null or this is undefined, this will also give us the same value here, undefined. So we don't really have to worry about that. All right. So now once we have done that, we can go ahead and just give the same reply over here. So now I'm going to go ahead and reply. We used update1, so we don't really have to save anything. It automatically saves. All right. So now that we have done the setup command, it's quite simple. We can go ahead and create our data or our open command. This is going to be the more annoying part. So now let's go ahead and just check that it does work. So let me go ahead and log into the database and I'll be right back. Alright, so now I'm looking at the MongoDB. As you can see, there's a lot of data over here. So let's go ahead and go into Discord and let's just make sure the bot's online. So the bot is online and it is ticket setup. And as you can see, these are the channels. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new channel. I'm going to call this the ticket channel. But since we do go ahead and want to test this override over here, so I'm going to say the general. And for the role, I'm going to say the staff role over here. For the message, I'm going to say, how can we help you? And for the embed, I'm just going to leave it as false. It's going to give me an error. It says the option role is type of 8, but expected 7. So there is something that we did for yet here. So role, string, boolean. Oh yeah, I did forget to change these. So I'm going to say get role. And these 2 are going to be get string. That's my bad. I completely forgot about that. Let's go ahead and save this and restart the bot. So bot's going to automatically restart since we're using nullmon. As you can see, the bot has restarted. So let's go ahead and rerun this. Of course, for the message itself that we did send over here, you can go ahead and customize it. Again, this is just a bare minimum video as of right now. Later on in the series, I'm going to show you guys how to make it a lot more advanced and just a lot cleaner. And how you can implement variables inside of here. So let's say you want to ping the user, so you can just add the user inside of here. I'm going to show you guys how to implement that. But not in this video right now. This is just an introduction. All right. So let's go ahead and just run this over here. It should work perfectly now. Again, another error, cannot read properties of null send error. Send embed, I mean. So there's an issue with this one over here. So we need to just ensure that this does exist. This is something that we did forget. So let's go ahead and use the ternary operator. So if this is true, I'm just going to give it null, which is what it usually has. So now it should go ahead and work. So let's go ahead and copy this again and repaste it over here. Bot is online. And let's go ahead and run this. And it should work perfectly. And again, another error, cannot read properties of null. Alright, so there's an issue with the send embed. Does it say reading send embed? So yeah, that's perfect. So we do use the ternary operator over here. One thing that is wrong, so we did not check for guild data first. So let's go ahead and check for that. And there we go. Now we're checking for guild data. There should no longer be any errors. If you don't understand what happened here, is it's looking for guild data.send embed, but guild data itself doesn't exist. So that's why it's giving us some errors. So let's go ahead and restart this and try it again. So the ticket setup thing, it should return success, and there we go. So now if you go into Mongo and just refresh this over here, it should say the name of our schema, which is, in this example here, is the server ticket box. So let's go over here and server ticket box. As you can see, how can we help you? This is null for the send embed. This should be false instead of null. So you want to go ahead and do that itself. But it doesn't really matter anymore right now. Let's just ensure that the IDs are correct, and they do seem to be correct. So now let's say I want to go ahead and change the ticket channel to the actual ticket channel. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to say ticket channel. I'm going to ping staff, and I'm just going to keep everything else as it was. And this is an issue with the thing what being required is I'm going to have to re-enter this message. And for send embed, I'm going to make this as true. So now it should reply with success. And they did give me an error. Option embed is type of 5, but expect 3. So embed, oh, it's a boolean, and I did say get string, so get boolean. These are some of the minor mistakes that you can run into, and you probably will, to be honest. But do not worry about those errors. Quite simple to fix, as you can see. So let's go ahead and run this. No errors, you can see, success, and let's just refresh this data. As you can see, the text channel ID did change and the send embed did change. Alright, so now this is the setup command. Let's go ahead and go back to the open command. So for the open command, I'm simply going to go ahead and fetch the guild data first. I'm going to say const guild data is going to be equal to await server ticket model.find1. And I'm going to say the guild ID, which is going to be equal to the interaction.guild ID. Guild ID over here. And then I'm going to say let user data. So let user data is going to be equal to await user ticket model.find1. And I'm going to say user ID is going to be equal to interaction.user.id. Alright. Alright, so now that we fetched the user data, it could not exist. But the one that we worry about not existing is the guild data. So let's go ahead and say if not guild data. I'm simply going to go ahead and return interaction.reply. I'm going to say the content is going to be tickets have not been set up in this server yet. And of course for ephemeral it's going to be true. One thing to do save some database queries, I'm going to go ahead and add this right after here. This way we don't check for the user data if the guild data does not exist. So I'm going to say if not user data, we can go ahead and create user data ourselves. So I'm going to say user data is going to be equal to new user ticket model. I'm going to say the user ID is going to be equal to the interaction.user ID over here. And now I'm going to go ahead and say await user data.save, as you can see. So now once you've done that, we can go ahead and check the topic of the ticket. Since we've handled all the database stuff, so we can say const ticket topic is going to be equal to the interaction lot options dot get string, which is going to take in the topic, since this is the name that we added over here. Alright, so now we can go ahead and check if the user has an active ticket using the ticket ID. So if I do go ahead and open the user ticket thing, we can say that we have the ticket ID. Let's go ahead and check for that. So I'm going to say if user data.ticket ID, we can go ahead and just return interaction.reply. I'm going to say content. You already have an active ticket. And I'm going to go ahead and link it. So linking it is going to be quite simple, user data.thread ID. And this way they get access to the thread itself by just clicking on this message. So of course, ephemeral is going to be true. The way this is going to work is quite simple. If the user does have an active ticket, the thread ID is going to have a value. Until that ticket is closed or the thread does not exist anymore, the thread ID is going to be deleted. So one thing that we can do in order to ensure this is we can say, we can come over here and say const old thread or active ticket is gonna be equal to interaction.guild.channels.cache.get. We're gonna say user data dot, or not user data, I'm gonna say guild data dot tickets channel. So I'm gonna say over here guild data dot tickets channel. And I'm gonna add a question mark dot. So this way, since this is not always going to be true, I'm gonna say threads dot cache dot get. Let's just ensure that this is an active method, so we can go ahead and do this using the documentation. As you can see, you can go ahead and just look for a text channel. And there should be threads over here, threads, as you can see. Let's go ahead and I'll go into the manager, and there is a fetch. There's also a cache, so we can go ahead and get this cache.get, where I'm going to say user data dot thread ID. So if this does exist, we can go ahead and go over here. I'm going to say or active ticket. If one of these two is true, then the thread does exist. One feature that we'll add is going to be a reclaim or a claim ticket. So this implementation is going to change once that comes out, but that hasn't come out yet. So yeah. All right. So now we can go ahead and get the tickets channel or the new tickets channel. I'm going to say const tickets channel is going to be equal to interaction.guild.channels.cache.get, or I'm going to say guild data.tickets channel. Tickets channel. There we go. One thing that we can do is we can put this on top over here. This way we can go ahead and just replace this little code over here by just this thing over here. And we can also add this externally just in case it does exist, but this operator over here does check it for us. All right. So one thing that we do have to check for the text channels, you need to check if it does exist. So I'm going to say question mark interaction.guild.channels, this thing over here. I'm going to add this over here, else I'm going to add the interaction.channel. This way, if the tickets channel has been deleted or no longer exists or the bot doesn't have access to it, it's going to create a ticket in the current channel. Of course, you can change that implementation as you want. It's your bot, it's your choices. So now let's go ahead and create the ticket itself. So I'm going to say const ticket thread. That's going to be equal to await tickets channel dot threads dot create. And if you do go ahead and go back to the documentation, we can see the create method over here. It takes in a lot of options, and we can go ahead and add that. So let's go ahead and add our new ticket or create our new ticket. It's quite simple. The name is going to be the value of the ticket topic, which we created. The reason, you can leave this empty. I prefer not to, since this is what's shown in the audit log. So I'm going to say ticket topic. I'm going to say opened by interaction.user.username. And I'm also going to go ahead and add their ID. So I'm going to say interaction.user.id. In this way, if they do go ahead and leave or something, we do have their ID in case they were fooling around. One thing that the documentation did specify is the type. So we can go ahead and come over here. I'm going to say type, which is going to be channel type dot private or public thread. It's completely up to you. So the private thread, again, a temporary subchannel within a guild text that is only viewable to those invited and those with the managed thread permission. Of course, it's great to have this as a private thread instead of having this as a public thread. Since public, anyone can just come in and fool around in the thread itself or in the ticket, and that would be not good. So now I can say const the mentioned role, which is just going to be equal to the interaction.guild.roles.cache.get, or I'm going to say the guild member or the guild data.mentioned role. And if this is true, I'm going to go ahead and create a string where this is a mentioned role like this. Roles are mentioned differently if I do go ahead and remember. Let's just go ahead and test it out since I'm not entirely sure. Let's go ahead and get a role over here and just try to ping it using this. It tries to ping a user, alright? So we need to add an Anderson sign right after the at to ping the role. And I'm also going to go ahead and add a line break after, and I'll show you guys why later. Else I'm going to add an empty string. So the mentioned role might not always exist, and if it doesn't exist, we don't want to mention everyone or mention a random role, so I'm going to leave this as an empty string. So let's go ahead and get the default message. So I'm going to say const default message is going to be equal to the mentioned role. This is why we added a empty string, and then I'm going to go ahead and add the guild data.default message. If we didn't add the line break, it would just be the ping and right after the default message. So that's why we added this line break over here. So let's go ahead and create a default embed. So I'm going to say const embed or default embed. It's just going to be a bare minimum embed. Of course, you can customize this as much as you want. So we can say the embed builder, which is going to take in a color of the colors.default, color codes.default, which is the default color. I'm going to say the set description as the default message. And yeah, that's about it. And then we can go ahead and send the message to the ticket thread. So I'm going to say await ticket thread dot send, where I'm going to say the content, which is going to be firstly the mentioned role. So I'm going to say mentioned role. This way we do ping. And now let's go ahead and add an if statement. So I'm going to say if guild data or guild data dot send embed. If that's true, I'm going to go ahead and send this as an embed. So I'm going to say exactly this. The await ticket thread embed and such. There we go. Alright. So now we can go ahead and update the user data. So we can say await user data dot update one. And I'm going to add the thread ID, which is going to be the ticket thread.id, and the ticket ID, which is going to be a function that we're going to go ahead and create, which is going to be called the generate unique ID. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to say function generate ID. The way it's going to work is it's going to use the timestamp. This way we try to avoid having duplicate IDs. Since these are like snowflakes in Discord, so like its call is different for everyone. So what I'm gonna say is I'm gonna get a random string. So I'm gonna say first the timestamp. So const timestamp is gonna be equal to the date.now dot toString of 36 and const random string, which is gonna be equal to math.random dot toString of 36 dot substring of 2 and 8. And then I'm simply going to add these two. So I'm going to say timestamp dot plus random string. Of course, if you have another algorithm that's supposed to generate a random ID for you, then go ahead and use that. Nothing's really stopping you. Alright, so now once you have done that, we can go ahead and just return a message that says, hey, your ticket is done. So I'm simply going to go ahead and return interaction.reply. Content is going to be equal to success. And let's go ahead and link this channel. So I'm going to say ticket thread.id. Alright, now let's go ahead and save this and restart the bot, which it's already doing. As you can see, the bot is now online. So let's go ahead and try it out by using the ticket open. And for the topic, I'm going to say, let's say discord.js issue. The bot is starting up, or it's trying to respond. Success, discord.js issue. And as you can see, interesting, there's something that I did forget to do here, which is the .id and the mentioned role. So it tried to mention it twice. Where is it? Mentioned role.id. There we go. So yeah, this way, this is a private thread, so only you can invite moderators. Of course, we're gonna go ahead and improve on this system later on. So you can add whatever you want. Whatever you want really here. I don't know why it didn't send the default message. There's something that we did forget here. Oh yeah, the default message, there we go. That makes sense. So let's go ahead and try to open a thread using, or a new ticket. So I'm gonna say ticket open, or I'm gonna say my new issue. It's restarting, and let's go ahead and start this over. We already have an active ticket, so that works. Let's go ahead and just delete this thread over here, and let's go ahead and try it open again. One thing that we did forget to add is if this does not exist, I'm going to say if not active ticket, I'm simply going to say user data dot ticket ID is going to be equal to null, and then I'm going to await user data dot save. This way, if the ticket channel did get deleted, it's going to go ahead and change this to null. So let's go ahead and try to open a new ticket. So I'm going to say ticket open, my new issue, and it's gonna go ahead and open it. As you can see, success, my new issue, and undefined, how can we help you? That's an issue. One thing that you can do over here, which makes sense, I guess, so you can go over here and do the .id over here outside. I don't know why I did it inside. That doesn't really make any sense. That's one of the issues with JavaScript, because it doesn't really show you this stuff. Let's go ahead and delete this thread over here. Let's go ahead and start up the bot. We can also make this as ephemeral for privacy reasons. So, and in order just to not flood the channel. So now the bot has restarted, and let's go ahead and open new tickets. I'm going to say ticket open. We're going to say, let's just say gbf commands. And as you can see, there's a new gbf commands over here. Ask staff, how can we help you? So if I do go ahead and just send a message over here, we can say that I'm in here, staff, and it should ping me. All right. So that's about it for this video. Of course, you can go ahead and tinker around and learn new stuff about this. If you guys did go ahead and enjoy this video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe. I will be making more episodes on this, and we're gonna make this a lot better, since it's right now just a bare minimum tickets command. And I hope to see you guys in the next video.